French product. And today I'm joined by Deborah Brooks, Head of Independence, and Guillaume Létang, winemaker for Southern French, Languedoc, Argentinian wines. And I've just realized it's actually all the places that have great food and sunny wines. So don't blame you for picking those countries. Today, a very special webinar talking about a range that is very close to Boutino's heart, and it's Les Volets. And we're going to talk about specifically the cool climate and the region of Haute-Vallée de l'Aude. So please make sure you say hi in the chat and tell us where you're from. If you've got any questions, do not hesitate. The agenda for today is very short and sweet. So we're going to go through why the range Les Volets has been created and what's the sort of philosophy behind it. Then we'll dig into the core of the subject, which is the cool climate and the regional Haute-Vallée de l'Aude and the amazing features that it has. And then we have a little bit of a tasting to go through how the climate is influencing the taste of the wine. So yeah, welcome to everybody. Hi Deb, hi Guillaume.
Hello, hello.
How are we feeling today?
Hello.
Thank you. Fantastic, thank you.
Julie.
Yeah.
So Deborah, I think your first question is for you because you've been working with Les Volets for a bit of time. So can you just go through quickly in terms of how Les Volets was, what was the inception behind the range really?
Yeah, of course. Well, I guess it started all sort of back in the late 90s, really. Boutino production were establishing some amazing relationships and good relationships with a lot of growers down in the Languedoc. And of course, the Languedoc is pretty vast. We've got about 250,000 hectares. It's quite large. 3 times Bordeaux, whatever, I don't know. But, lots and lots of good wines down there. But I guess what we always seek at Boutino, certainly in our own wines, is real drinkability and real freshness and, wines that we just want to go back to all the time. So whilst we were still dealing with a lot of guys, and growers in Narbonne and Corbière, we sort of identified the Haute-Vallée de l'Aude as an area that would really give us freshness and a bit of a bit of a sense of place, within a very, very big, vast area. So the winemaking team went out, found some really good varietals, which really responded to that sort of short growing season as well, which we'll go on to. But it was something that as soon as the guys found the wines, we just thought, yeah, they're different, they're different to whatever we've sourced in the Languedoc before. As head of the UK independence, I think most of our customers really appreciated it. So that was something that we developed over the years as a winemaking team as well as shippers.
Right. So it's because it's all about the freshness, like you said, so the drinkability of the wine. We're going to show everybody, so a map so people can understand where the valley is located. If we can have the map here, so it's actually here. Oh, clearly not good at technology. So Guillaume, can you walk us through a little bit? So Deb is talking about that freshness and that interesting, great varieties. What does make Haute-Vallée de l'Aude such an interesting place to have drinkable wine with a sense of place?
Yeah. So to begin with, we started to craft wine over there, not necessarily for the climate, but because we did fall in love on this wine style. And now we try to make the most of the wonderful combination we have over there with a specific climate, a specific soil, and make the most of this specific area, which is Haute-Vallée de l'Aude. So Haute-Vallée de l'Aude, we are located in the Languedoc-Roussillon, so south of France. So even if we say it is a cool climate, I would say it is the coolest climate of Languedoc-Roussillon. So we have a good compromise between the Mediterranean climate, so very hot during the day. And in this specific area of Haute Vallée de l'Aude, we have fresh night. So the alternation between the hot afternoon and the fresh night is very interesting. And we don't have this specificity inland in Languedoc-Roussillon or in the sea border. So just to come back on Haute Vallée de l'Aude, Aude is the name of the river which follows the valley. So we are located in the south of France, near Limoux. So Haute Vallée de l'Aude is a real suburb of Limoux, which is quite famous for the Chardonnay. What is interesting in Haute Vallée de l'Aude, so we have the altitude in comparison with the sea border. We are located roughly between 300 and 400 meters. So altitude is very interesting because as soon as the sun goes down, the freshness arrive. And as I said, we have a good alternation between the hot afternoon and the cool night. And so that the vineyard recover a lot. And the vineyard has a proper rest, I would say, during the night. So different influences in this area. We have influences of the Mediterranean, influences of the ocean. So with fresh air, with humidity in the air. And obviously, we are located in the south of France, so in the border with Spain, and we have the Pyrenees, so the huge mountain, which is a real lug of fresh air. So all of this combination is very interesting. Just a couple of words regarding the soil. We are in soil mountain, so very multifaceted soil with a lot of diversity, which is interesting in this soil. And it's mainly clay and limestone soil over there. So
yeah. So in terms of
the picture, we can see on the picture that it's a real mountain landscape. We are not far from the sea, 1 hour by car. It is a small road to come inland. And as I say, the huge difference in comparison with a classic Languedoc-Roussillon area, it is the alternation of the hot and the cool during the night. And on the vineyard, the massive impact is that we have a long and slow cycle of ripeness. The sun is not burning the acidity of the wine, and in terms of the polyphenol cycle, we have a complete and long and complete cycle of polyphenol. So that we are able to have smoothness and ripeness on the tannin, and which is a part of our flagship in the red, and the acidity and the freshness on the white.
I think all your comments, Guillaume, are an invitation to tasting, really. So actually today, so some of you in the audience may have received some samples. If you want to start tasting the wines and let us know what you think of it, please do. But yeah, so we've got the wines today. So maybe if we can just start with the Chardonnay, because I think Guillaume, all what you're saying about that drinkability and that freshness of the wine, personally, I think is reflected in the wines. And what I like about it is, so for example, we've got the Chardonnay with us, and that sort of interesting difference that you find between a Chardonnay from Haute Vallée de l'Aude and a Chardonnay that you can find into maybe a more classic region, which is Burgundy, for example. So when we taste the wine, what sort of in the Chardonnay, what do you think is the most? What is the difference between all the Chardonnay, for example, from Haute Vallée de l'Aude, and what will be the difference versus a Chardonnay from Burgundy?
Yeah, we spoke about the soils. So as I said, the soil is mainly clay and limestone, so it is really the perfect soil for the expression of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. What we have in Burgundy, what is interesting is that obviously we have a spine of wine from the south. We are in the Languedoc, but we have not the jammy flavor. Pinot Noir is very fine, very elegant, and you can find this elegancy also in the Chardonnay. Obviously, we are very focused on the citrus flavor and the freshness, and you can find similarity with Mâconnais style, for example, which where we are located. And in any cases, in terms of vinification, we are really on a Burgundy style wine.
What is have we got a bit of oak going on? Because I mean this is delicious, Deb. I don't know which room you're in, but this is fantastic. We've got this sort of like creaminess coming from the Chardonnay, and you've got what you're talking about, that sort of acidity coming through with a little bit of lime, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, we play with a bit of oak, not just to add another layer of complexity. No more than 10%. It just to beef up the citrus flavor and beef up the freshness, and we try to not disturb the fruit, just to help the complexity, no more.
And I think it's important to note there, actually, Guillaume, that you actually make the wines as a team. You blend and you come up with a profile of wine that we like to drink, and that's why you would necessarily use the oak in the final blend. Just something that again has got that sort of Boutonneau stamp, really, which I think this has. It's got a really lovely fresh acidity, but it's ample enough to be quite, not serious, but quite, interesting wine.
Yeah, and being native of Burgundy, the plan was really to try to do the same in the south of France with the same grape variety. We spoke about the freshness on the Chardonnay. On the Chenin, we find out exactly the same spirit on the wine. Just for the story, Chenin in the south of France, it's quite unusual. Chenin is well known in Loire Valley, and it's quite impossible to find a Chenin in the south of France. For the story, this Chenin was initially dedicated to the sparkling wine, and we did try, and we pushed the maturity of this plot of Chenin, and it was a big surprise to have this result. If you compare Chenin and Chardonnay, obviously it's two different things, but you have the spine of you can feel the region. You can feel again the acidity, the freshness, and it's a very interesting wine. So, as I say, initially it was dedicated for the elaboration of Blanquette de Limoux, and we make the most of the Chenin and adapt to craft a still wine.
Is it pretty much a region that focuses on Chardonnay and Chenin, or is there any other grapes that can be found in the region? Because I would assume with, like you said, the hot temperatures, that sort of high altitude. Is there any other variety that can be found in the area?
Well, there's Malbec, yes.
Yeah. As I said, we are the flagship of the region is Limoux. So mainly it's Chardonnay and Pinot Noir because the soil is perfect for this grape. And we have other grapes. We are dealing with Malbec. And the most important on Malbec, it's the tannin, because sometimes on Malbec it's a bit hard on the finish in the mouth with Malbec, because the tannin it's sometimes too hard. And by the way, as I said, with the alternation of the temperature, we have a perfect ripeness in Malbec. And if you taste the Malbec, you will see the end of the mouth is very soft, very smooth. And we are able to find the crunchiness that we are not able to find in other regions. It's quite fresh. It's very blueberry, creamy blueberry. And it's completely different than a blackcurrant flavor. It's really blueberry. So we have more vibrancy in the wine. And if you compare Malbec for coming from Cahors, for example, and Malbec from Les Volets range, you have two different profiles.
Can I ask a question about the Malbec, Guillaume? Sorry, is there quite I mean, obviously Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and Chenin are the basis of Crémant and Blanc is Mosaic, isn't it? But you know, Malbec doesn't seem to be a varietal that instantly springs to mind for the Ode potentially. Or is there a lot of Malbec planted down there?
In any cases, we don't have a lot of Malbec in the south of France. Mainly of the Malbec is near Cahors. And it's quite unusual to find Malbec in the south of France. The other name of Malbec is Côte. I don't know if you ever heard about Côte. And it's really focused over there because sometimes, in any cases, Malbec need a long time to have a perfect ripeness. The main issue of Malbec sometimes is that we have to harvest the Malbec because the alcohol is very high, but we don't have the perfect ripeness in terms of polyphenol, in terms of tannin. That's why in Haute-Vallée de l'Aude, we are able to have this long and sufficient ripeness cycle to have this Malbec.
It's a real success. It's got some real nice freshness to the Malbec, which, you know, increasingly again in Argentina, I think some of the growers are looking to retain some freshness in their Malbecs as well, and not swayed it in too much oak. So it's, for me, it's lovely.
And you do the parallel between Argentina from Malbec from Argentina. For example, if you why Malbec is well known and why do you have why we have a good Malbec in Argentina? In Argentina, the best Malbec are located in Mendoza. Mendoza, even if it is a flat plateau, we are in altitude, roughly 1,000 meters. So it's very high in comparison with Haute-Vallée de l'Aude. But we have exactly the same scenario. It's very hot during the day, but as soon as the sun goes down, it's very fresh, and the vineyard recover. And it is really the key from a vineyard point of view to have after the profile of this wine.
No, because you can tell like the Malbec it's absolutely outstanding. It's like super crunchy, it's juicy, but at the same time it's got like a nice backbone to it. And yeah, so especially because you also are the winemaker behind our Malbec from Argentina, I thought there is such an interesting parallel going on, because I think for you, so would you say you've got the same challenge when you do Malbec from Argentina and Malbec from Haute Vallée de l'Aude? Or for that matter, to be fair, you do quite a lot of Pinot as well. You work with Pinot from, IGP Oc, or so for you, do you have the same challenge for both of the grapes, or is it really a question of the climate will influence that? So when you work, what sort of challenge do you have working with similar grape varieties but for different countries?
Once more, the key parameters is really the date of the harvest. For example, between Pinot and Malbec, we are completely at the opposite. Pinot, it is the first grape that we pick. So just after the end of Chardonnay, we keep going with Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is very fragile grape variety. From the Burgundy to the south, it is exactly the same scenario. It's very fragile. We have to focus, and we have only a small windows of perfect picking date. And on Malbec, we have another challenge. It is the last grapes that we pick. And the other challenge is to pick at the perfect ripeness. If it's too early, it's too vegetal, it's too blackcurrant, it's too harsh, and when it's too late, it's too jammy. We lose completely the acidity, and we have a huge alcohol content, so we don't have the good balance. So in any case, everywhere we have always the same challenge. And as I often say, if you have the perfect grapes, the winemaking, it's quite easy, by the way. So it's very important, yeah.
And I guess after 20 years of working with these guys, we can determine and advise in terms of picking dates and things like that. We can work alongside them to create a wine that's, certainly for us in the UK, has become, certainly the Malbec as well, has become a great sort of option as by the glass and things like that in the on-trade. It's been very successful. So
Guillaume, in terms of also, so you're talking about the fact that it's a slow process, so the grapes are just taking their time, and so in terms of the harvest, so are we just a little bit, so is it later than the most of the harvest? Are we just a little bit behind in terms of the harvest? Is it like a week later, 2 weeks later, or?
Yeah, no more than 2 weeks later. As I said to begin with, we are in the south, so in the south of France. So even if the nights are cold, the day is quite hot. So
I think the wines are really showing. We have this sense of place that we keep talking about. Having this sort of that clear difference to me of how a terroir and a place can make such a difference when it comes to tasting the wines. And I think we've seen today with the Chardonnay, whether it's the white or the reds, that sort of crunchiness and that lightness that comes to it, but although still preserving a character. And I think that's all probably coming from that slow ripening process. But yeah, I think today we've seen what it means to us, like to working in such a unique place, and how that allows you, Guillaume, to make wine that have such good characters, also like great affinity with food. So yeah, in terms of, I think today is a great example of where we give you a nice playground. You can come up with utterly delicious wines that represents, I think, a true flagship of what we stand as a wine company. That's the kind of thing that we like to do. I don't know if you've got anything to say, but we need to wrap this up, because I think otherwise I will just finish all the wines. But I don't know if anything to add in terms of what do you think of the wines, but I think it was pretty outstanding to me.
Yeah, no, good set of wines. Good.
The last things to finish, even if we launch the vintage quite early, we try to have a good rotation with the vintage. This wine from the Chardonnay, Chenin, Pinot Noir, Malbec has a huge potential of aging, and it's very interesting to taste all vintage, and we feel really the freshness in the wine, and it's quite interesting to, especially on Pinot Noir and Malbec, to see the potential of aging.
Well, thanks for all this amazing story, Deb and Guillaume, and just digging into this fantastic valley. We've seen like beautiful pictures. I hope that everyone who joined today really liked the wines. If you've got further questions, do not hesitate to ask us, and we'll get back to you a bit later on. But I think, because it's morning for me, it's been a great start of the day. But yeah, I hope that everyone really enjoyed. And yeah, I think that's a wrap for us today on Les Volets. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining.